joining us on E-MasterCast. My name is Therese, and I'm here with Cynthia Williams. And this is Chicago's one and only business podcast that's filmed live in Lincoln Park at B-Speak Studios. And thank you guys for joining us. You made a good decision to join us today if this is your first time joining us. So first, I'd like for Cynthia, please introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
My name is Cynthia Williams, and my company is Ideation Zone, and I teach people to think entrepreneurially, is at least my current mission statement. But it's really about helping people to change their mindset and understand business in the social age, and how to leverage community, how to leverage ideas, and improve ourselves and our businesses.
Nice. Okay. Awesome. So we talked a few days ago, and you told me about trust and how you speak a lot on trust. So before you get that, I just want one question. Like, who was someone in your life that really exemplified trust?
Wow.
Yeah, I know it's a deep question. Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
I hadn't thought about that. Exemplified trust. Probably my father. My father began pastoring a church in 1982, so I am a preacher's kid, which a lot of people don't know. But so he recently retired, but what I've always appreciated about him and starting the church, he and my mom and all the other wonderful individuals that started the church had a very different approach to what they were going to do. And as far as a pulpit, they were always open to others coming and sharing their knowledge. And so it was true use and appreciation of community in a way then I didn't appreciate, but definitely can appreciate now. So they were way ahead of their time. And so even in that church, they never had the attitude or feeling or belief that they were royalty. Like, they were, pastor, first lady, that kind of thing, but that they were servants. And people loved and trusted them because they were always there when in time of need for everyone. So from that perspective of being able to entrust the ministry to community and everybody being able to serve, and that's what it really should be about anyway.
Right. Oh, nice. So what do you tell other entrepreneurs? Or like, how do you lead entrepreneurs into gaining that trust? You know what I mean?
Oh, that's a really difficult task. I think the first thing is helping them understand what their trust level is. Because we talk a lot about community and collaborating and partnerships. And I remember probably about 15 years ago, I did a workshop down in Houston, Texas. And I had this really wonderful creative presentation, and I likened it to marriage and all the things that happen, and I was really proud of myself. And it was a group of about 50 or 60 people, and I remember in the end, I asked for questions, and a guy stood up and said, all that stuff you said, I'm not doing it because I don't trust anybody. And I realized, I said, at that point, up until that point, I was doing all these talking points about business and entrepreneurship, but really had never thought about all of the obstacles and personal things that we hold on to that keep us from being successful.
Right.
And so now, what I do is I sort of lead people to that place and point where they'll understand where their trust level is. And so I create scenarios in real life situations in my workshops. And it helps people come to terms with where they are now. I always suggest that they go seek a professional if they need help getting through those issues, but being aware is the first challenge.
So tell us a little bit about your workshops.
My workshops, as I tell people, I'm a very creative person, and I have to entertain myself. So if I'm going to stand there for 2 hours, I'm going to be just as entertained as everybody else. But they're all designed around an experiential model. And here's the irony. I've been doing it for about 20 years before I realized there was terminology called experiential. And it took someone else to explain to me what I had been doing. But I realized people learn by doing. And if I can create a situation or overall experience that gets them to think about what they're doing and can fully engage them, then I have their attention. But also I like to introduce and present the unexpected. I tell stories. I naturally am a storyteller. And so in telling stories, and really far out stories, or using really far out and unique stories, people will always remember the lesson. And they will always remember the story within the context of the lesson. So, you know, in hopes that they take what they've learned and apply it immediately. And that's what I get mostly. You know, I'm able, first of all, it makes sense. You help explain it in a way that's clear, but also I can apply it. And then the last thing I would say is, I always tell people entrepreneurship and business is much more common sense and intuition than it is anything you can learn in a book. You know, and so a lot of people don't know they have that ability within until I'm able to frame it and put it within the context of what it looks like in a successful business. And so then they realize, oh my God, I've had the answers all along, but just didn't know.
I definitely agree with that. I definitely agree with that. So I was thinking back, you're a preacher's kid. I was almost about to say the son of a preacher man.
Yeah, that's that too. That'll work. The daughter of a preacher man.
The daughter of a preacher man, yeah. So you were probably bad growing up.
That's what everybody thinks. Yeah. Angel,
okay, all right. So going from being a bad kid to an angel, how did you go from being an angel to an entrepreneur?
Well, honestly, you know, you hear those stories about people who are entrepreneurs when they were kids. I truly was. As I like to tell people, my parents refused to afford me the lifestyle I wanted to live as a kid. So, you know, I took it upon myself to make my own money. So I can go back to when I was like 12 or 13, my sister and I, we shared a paper route, and we had like 90 customers, and the worst days were Wednesdays and Sundays with those big papers. You can only carry like 10 at a time, so that was like, you know, multiple trips back, and the wagon did not work in the snow. Okay.
Here in Chicago?
Well, in Gary, Indiana. So pretty much the same, weather-wise. And I was doing that during the time when we were having those heavy snow. You know, we've had some winters in the 70s that were pretty bad. So, but after that, you name it, I did it. I babysat. I was reminded recently that I used to, anything and everything artistic, I would get involved with in the summer. So that's how I occupied my time. And so I learned one summer macrame. And after that, I made everything from wall hangings to pop hanging, anything to make money, honestly.
Nice. Okay, so that's what led you into entrepreneurship.
Yeah, so you know, somebody said, oh, you know, you love numbers. I used to do well in math. Oh, you should study business, and more specifically accounting. So I believed that, and I studied accounting, and it was the end of my junior year in college that I realized I hated accounting, but I knew my parents would not take kind in me changing my major. And so I finished it out, but then I went straight through and got an MBA and focused a little differently. So, but even still, everything that I learned in college, it worked well once you understood how to apply it corporately. But when we started talking about small business, it did not translate so well. And for me, when I decided I was never going to really make it in corporate America, that was 2 years in, let me be honest. But you know, I had to live, and I had no idea what what I could do entrepreneurially. I began to study the world of entrepreneurship, and what I found really, to me, I was like, I just couldn't see how it could be effective.
Right. So I feel like that's been a big deal lately, as far as kids not wanting to go to college, because really, is there any point if you're not going for like to become a doctor or pharmacist or veterinarian or lawyer? So how do you feel about college? Do you recommend small young entrepreneurs go to college for an MBA or what? I mean,
I think it's up to them. As a matter of fact, I just had a conversation yesterday with someone who, she told me she was 48, and she had been doing cosmetology and image consulting, and she felt like she needed to go back to school, or go to school, to actually get a certificate in something related to cosmetology. And someone said to her, well, aren't you a little old? And she asked me what I thought, and I said, But to me, if you want to perfect that thing, go learn it, and wherever you get the education. And colleges today are getting, I think they've gotten the hint. In order to survive, it can't be so much theory, it has to be practical application. So they've gotten better now. A number of them do offer entrepreneurship degrees with simulations around them, but I still say, life is the best teacher. And but it can't hurt to get at least some foundational knowledge.
I agree. That's a good point. I hadn't thought of that before, but I know just thinking back on my experience, if I wouldn't have went to college. I mean, the best thing for me was just meeting my wife and having a kid out of college. But other than that, but I had to pay debt for them.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So all right. So I guess tell us a little more about the Ideation Zone and everything around that. Or how can people get involved with it?
Okay. So the Ideation Zone came about. So it's I'll try to shorten the story. But when I started my own entrepreneurial journey, probably 20 years ago now, when I realized I was never going to make it in corporate. I mean, it works for some, it just didn't work all that well for me. But, I did it, I did well, and it afforded me the ability to live. But I was always on a search. And so I began to study the works and some of the companies that were really successful, and they started small and grew, and then how that worked. And ultimately, while still in corporate, I had a chance to I landed in strategic sourcing. So I did a lot of work around strategy and stuff like that, but landing in strategic sourcing put me first front and center with the small business initiatives, the supplier diversity initiatives, and those businesses who were trying to do business with corporate. And as they were coming in, they just did not know how to present themselves, sell themselves. They had no idea what their own value proposition was, or even what a value proposition was. And so I began to coach and help them. But all along the way, I was constantly whining to friends, like, God, these small businesses, they're failing, and do they not understand these things? And so someone challenged me, well, why don't you help people understand that? And so I was invited to participate in a program that at the time was hosted by the Chicago Urban League, and it was the Next One program. So the businesses were from $500,000 to $30 million that were coming into this program, and it was a partnership with Northwestern University, which was really great. I loved showing up on Saturdays and learning from the Northwestern professors. But ultimately, it evolved from there, because once I began to coach, then mentor, I'll call her a mentor, kept prodding me and said, well, why don't you teach people how to think the way you think? Now, that I didn't understand what that meant. I was like, because I know my way of thinking is not normal. And, I see things others don't see, but then I do appreciate that that's a gift and not, anything bad.
Right.
But it's like, I didn't know how to translate that. But I began to do it, and the more I did it, the more I realized people got a lot of value from it. And for me, it was all about changing mindsets and rethinking existing ideas. So it has morphed into the Ideation Zone. And so I finally let the corporate stuff go to focus primarily on how do I help our businesses, particularly small businesses, get better. And understand, because it concerns me that so many fail, and it's almost accepting that you're going to fail in 3 or 5 years, and I'm like, no, that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Why? Who wants to go into anything where failure is the end result?
Right.
But so just for me, I'm building a business that's helping others build their business at the same time. So a lot of what I teach are things that I'm practicing, and I'm learning myself from the people that I work with, which is the best education I can get. I'm being paid to learn myself. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so what are some of the things you're learning? What are some of the things that you think differently of, and what's some of the things you're teaching your people?
Wow, that's a mouthful. Let's see. I have to edit this part. I'll just throw that in now. So I can give one example, and there's a really great book that is called The Experience Economy,
Okay.
and it's almost 20 years old. And I believe it's Pine and Gilmore wrote it. And in the experience economy, when I discovered it, it just kind of changed my whole perspective. The theory is work is theater and every business is a stage. Mm-hmm. And so if people actually understood that what they do is theater, or it's creating an experience that either people are going to enjoy or not. And then what do we do today socially? We talk about it. Now, we always have, but the cool thing is you've got social media and all those other tools today. Mm-hmm. So the conversation goes further, faster, reaches deeper. Mm-hmm. And so if you mess up, the world will know very quickly. Mm-hmm. And so what I share with people is everything you do is marketing. It's not just the advertising and the promotions and that, you know, those slogans and taglines you can share with me to try to convince me to buy. You can't convince me to buy if that's not where my mind is. So it's the idea that if you want to create a brand, you have to be aware that everything you do matters. And everything you do has to culminate in an experience that defines and continues to reinforce the brand that you're seeking to establish. Now, of course, people may have already known that, but...
No, it's good. I definitely never heard of that book before, and I can't remember the quote, but it was like all selling is acting, or all selling is theater, something like that, but I like the way you put it a little bit better.
Well, and also, just, a little bit more about it. They talk about the 4 realms of the experience, meaning anything and everything you do, you have to, there are things that you should consider. So I'm just going to give you my paraphrase version. You should consider how it makes people feel, what it allows them to do, who it allows them to be, and then what it allows them to learn. Mm-hmm. And so in those 4 realms, if you're capturing all of that in whatever experience you're delivering, it can't help but be the kind of experience that people respond positively to. And so in my workshops, the irony is people are, they're fully engaged and they don't know why they love it. And then when I get to the part where I explain how it's designed and how I've applied those principles, then I had one person actually say, so we've been manipulated. And I'm like, no, it just proves it worked.
Awesome. Yeah, okay. All right, so I'll have to figure out how to apply that myself. And I'm definitely have to come to your next meetup.
Oh, definitely. You're more than welcome.
Okay, awesome. I know it's going to be loud on the podcast. So how can... how much longer do you have?
To sit here?
Yeah.
Oh, I put 2 hours on the meters.
Okay, all right, so you're good. Okay, all right. So I guess my next question is then, so after trust, after experience, is there anything else that you see that your clients, your network is struggling with more than anything else?
Oh, our acceptance of mediocrity. Mm. That is a real pet peeve. And over the years, I've learned to temper that whole, because I would get on the soapbox and just go on, but I've gotten better at that, I'm proud to say. But I think we've accepted things the way they are for so long that we don't question. Now, I was always the kind of kid that questioned everything, which would drive my parents nuts because I needed to understand why. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, if I couldn't grasp the why, then it wasn't going to make a whole lot of sense to me. And of course, more often than not, it was because we said so. Mm-hmm. That didn't always work.
It's not the best answer for a kid, though.
You know what I'm saying? It was just, I struggled. But I'm always, it's just natural for me to question things, especially things that have been the same way for so long. Mm-hmm. And no one stops to go, why are we doing it this way? Or acknowledge that it really does not work.
Right.
So I really push that, don't accept it just because it is, or more specifically, because you don't see anybody else doing it. Just jump out there and do it, because there are others who have probably been wondering why no one else was doing it, but did not have the courage to do it. Which gets to that courage and confidence piece, because, and I learned from my mentor, and I'm going to give a shout out, Karen Pettigrew. Okay. That she once told me, I was doing all this talking about people having the confidence, and she's like, it's not about confidence, it's about courage. And, you know, if you find the courage, eventually the confidence comes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a, I forget the quote about courage. Maybe one of you guys know, but like the guy in the arena, the warrior in the arena, and the guy. I'll look it up, but I'll put it in there again.
Yeah.
I'll throw it in there anyway. It was about like Gus D'Amato was Mike Tyson's coach, because Mike Tyson was scared before he was scared before one of his fights. But then his coach told him that it's not about courage like that. The guy across from him is scared also, but it's, you know, the guy who sucks it up and goes out there and fights.
Does it?
Is the winner. You know,
Absolutely.
9 times out of 10. Awesome. Okay. All right. So is there? I'll wrap it up here in a minute. But is there anything else you want to say or get off your mind, or tell the people? Or, you know, what else can you give us?
Oh, I got a whole lot.
We'll talk. We probably done like 10 minutes. Yeah, we have done 10 minutes.
Whatever. So I discovered Bespeak Studios, which is Jill Steinberg. Hey Jill, she's over in the corner. Through a woman, Janet Cobb, who had participated in my workshops a few years ago. And she knew I had been looking for a place and a space to begin to host what I call my Wednesday meetups, and then also my big idea weekends. And so
how often are those?
Right now they're monthly.
Okay.
And they're just starting. However, I have had them written, designed, planned for about 4 years. So talk about, you know, and as I come up with a new idea, I would just write it. Oh, this would be a great opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I would do my workshops, people would ask me, well, where can we come and participate in your stuff? And I was promising one day,
Mm-hmm.
I will, for real. And because right now the workshops that I do are on behalf of other organizations who have clients that are in need of development and training. But to be able to really step out and do this on my own, it's taken a minute, but it's working now. So my Meetup Wednesdays, which I've set up a group on Facebook. I officially joined Facebook probably in December, but started using about a month ago.
Okay.
It's complicated. I tell people that was my own social experiment, only because everybody else kept saying you have to be on Facebook. I was like, I don't think so.
My trick with Facebook is to turn off all the notifications.
Oh,
and then I just check it once a day.
Okay.
That way I'm not looking at my phone all day every day.
Yeah, so I had a page that I administered without having a profile, but then Facebook changed their rules and my page became a ghost page. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, I just had to come out of hiding. As I said, if I'm going to do this, I need to really do it. Mm-hmm. And so I did set up a group for Meetup Wednesday. And Meetup Wednesday, for me, is about working on the individual, the entrepreneur. Because as those things that you just mentioned, the issue of trust, learning how to effectively ask for what we want. There's a lot that we can develop and get better at that I want us to focus on. And so that's what Meetup Wednesday is about, is developing ourselves in a sense of where we're working together and then we're practicing and developing new skills that just make us better entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. My big idea weekends I'm going to be doing here at Bespeak as well. And, oh, by the way, the next Meetup Wednesday is on May 18th at 6 o'clock. You can register at Eventbrite. It's $20 a person. And it's I call it a hybrid of a networking event and a mastermind because it involves the elements of both. And for the first hour or so, from 6 to 6:45 or 7, is an opportunity for one-on-one coaching. People can ask questions and we'll address them. But then we'll also have a part in the middle where we're talking about a very specific skill or something that we can develop or challenge that people are having, and how do we work through them. The Big Idea Weekends, the first one, and that kicks off June 4th. Okay. And so the first one, I was just putting together, let's say I already had the program, but I came up with the right audience and all the other pieces last night. I was explaining to Jill earlier. But that's really about working on our business. And I feel like, you can't have too many ideas, and some of the best ideas come from people who know nothing about your business. Mm-hmm. And being able to come together and to collaborate and to share and to bounce ideas off each other and develop those ideas out. I can do a little bit of that in the workshops, but then I begin to notice that people want they want to know those ideas and how to apply them. And so Big Idea Weekend is about that, picking a subject, a topic, and then collectively brainstorming. And the goal is everybody brings their ideas, but everybody walks out with something new and different and a new way to do something, whether it's focus on or identify a different kind of customer, a different kind of market, different way to design and present the work that you do, maybe even a different way or a better way, a more improved way to verbally express the value you create. So I'm looking forward to that because that's going to be I think it's going to be the most fun.
Awesome.
Anything I've ever done. So
yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun, and I almost think you almost need two events because you need one thing that's more focused, you need something else that's a little more diverse.
Yep.
Kind of like in my meetup, it's good because so many people are, you have people who are 18 there, you also have people who are 65 sometimes that make it to my meetup, but and all different ethnicities and backgrounds, and that's good because you get different ideas, but you also need something more focused. So that's what I'm trying to do with this.
Yeah, and you understand, we're customers too in that sense, and so we can also help each other understand if that's something that we would like or how we would like it, and so it becomes a different kind of focus group on top of everything else. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for coming. I guess we'll wrap up. I think it was good. What do you think?
Oh, I think it was great. No, and I absolutely appreciate you inviting me. This has been great, and
awesome.
the questions weren't too hard. I like that.
Okay, so I guess I'll wrap up with so in my mastermind we always say at the end of it we break up into sections and we ask each other. We try and brainstorm ideas and solutions for you. So what's something that the viewers, the other coaches in here, Jill and myself, what's something we can help you with?
Oh wow.
It could be simple, it could be grand,
right?
or whatever.
I honestly, mine just went blank. What can you help me with?
It's hard to ask, right?
Well, it is, especially in the work that we do, it is very hard to ask. And for me, I think it comes back to when we did our meetup Wednesday, was it last week? God, seems like so much time. And so unexpected, Jill actually promoted the event, to her network, and she put the sign in the window, and people came. So more of that I would love. Because yes, the more people that are interested, I'm total Seth Godin fan, and it's about connecting with my tribe and people who have the same mindset, want the same things, but also have the heart for helping each other.
Yeah. So
the more people that we can connect with and others can help me connect with, I would love. Absolutely. So this my website is the ideationzone.com. Okay.
We'll link it all up.
Facebook, Ideation Zone, Twitter, The Ideation Zone, so all of that.
Awesome.
And then somewhere in there you'll find Cynthia Williams.
Okay, well thank you, Cynthia.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
All right.